There is a side of human nature most people refuse to examine. Not because it is rare, but because it is uncomfortable. The side that calculates, the side that withholds truth, the side that chooses advantage over approval. That is the side Machiavelli studied. Welcome to Purely Noetical, where we study power, strategy, and human behavior without illusion. Today, we are examining the 4 dark personality types. But not from modern psychology alone. We are looking at them through the teachings of Machiavelli, through the lessons of power found in The Prince, through political realism, through verified patterns in history and research. By the end of this video, you will understand why Machiavelli believed fear is more reliable than love. You will understand why perception often defeats morality. You will see how structure and wealth shape power in society. And you will confront which of these dark traits operates inside you when pressure rises. This is not to glorify darkness. It is to understand it. Because what you refuse to understand will eventually control you. Machiavelli begins with a clear statement about human nature. People are ungrateful, unstable, self-interested, and quick to change loyalty when their advantage changes. This is not hatred. It is observation. Modern behavioral research supports this view. Studies in behavioral economics consistently show that people prioritize personal gain when incentives shift. When rewards change, behavior changes. Loyalty often follows benefit. This is not ideology. It is measurable. Machiavelli built his political system on this reality. Now let us examine the 4 dark types. Number 1. The Machiavellianism. This is the strategist. This personality does not move emotionally. It does not react quickly to praise or insult. It moves carefully. It studies patterns in people. It watches behavior over time. It listens more than it speaks. It plans for the long term, not for immediate satisfaction. It hides intentions when necessary. It focuses on outcomes rather than impressions. The Machiavellian mind is not loud. It is patient. In The Prince, Machiavelli explains that a ruler must learn how not to be good when circumstances demand flexibility. He does not praise cruelty for its own sake. He does not promote chaos. He explains necessity. If survival of the state requires deception, then deception becomes a tool. If force is required to prevent disorder, then force becomes a duty. In his view, hesitation during critical moments can destroy authority faster than open opposition. For Machiavelli, morality without survival is useless. A ruler who insists on appearing virtuous in every situation may lose control to someone less restrained. The world, as he observed it, does not reward innocence. It rewards preparation. Modern psychological research supports parts of this observation. Studies measuring Machiavellian traits show that individuals who score higher often demonstrate stronger long-term planning abilities. They are more likely to think several steps ahead before acting. They are less likely to make sudden emotional decisions. In structured experiments, they show greater willingness to delay immediate reward if it increases future gain. In workplace studies, researchers have found that individuals with strong political awareness often rise faster in competitive environments. They understand alliances. They recognize hidden rivalries. They manage impressions carefully. This does not mean they are morally better than others. It means that in power contests, strategic awareness often produces advantage. Machiavelli would not find this surprising. He teaches that a prince must be both fox and lion. The fox recognizes traps before stepping into them. The lion frightens threats before they grow bold. Intelligence without strength invites attack. Strength without intelligence invites deception. If you are only strong, you can be outmaneuvered. If you are only clever, you can be crushed. The Machiavellian type balances both qualities. It thinks quietly but acts decisively. It studies people's weaknesses but does not expose its own. It builds alliances when useful and dissolves them when necessary. However, Machiavelli also gives a warning that many misunderstand. Avoid hatred. Fear can maintain order. Hatred destroys it. Once people feel deeply wronged or humiliated, they begin to unite against you. History repeatedly shows that leaders who push people into resentment without control eventually face rebellion. Political science research examining failed regimes confirms that excessive visible exploitation increases the likelihood of uprising. Strategy must remain controlled. Manipulation must not become visible arrogance. If people clearly see that they are being used without benefit, resistance forms. The true Machiavellian understands limits. He does not seek applause. He does not chase admiration. He does not need to be loved. His goal is stability. His goal is security. His goal is position that cannot easily be removed. He measures risk before acting. He chooses battles carefully. He avoids unnecessary enemies. He protects his image while guarding his real intentions. Most importantly, he controls himself before attempting to control others. Because without self-control, strategy collapses. The Machiavellian is not defined by cruelty. He is defined by discipline. Number 2. The narcissism. This type is driven by image. It is concerned with how it is seen, how it is judged, how it is remembered. Approval matters, admiration matters, status matters. The narcissistic mind constantly measures how others respond. It wants to be viewed as strong, intelligent, superior, and worthy of attention. Machiavelli understood something critical about human judgment. Most people judge with their eyes, not with careful examination. They respond to appearances. They respond to symbols. They respond to visible confidence. Few take the time to investigate deeper truth. Most accept what is presented clearly and consistently. This is why he emphasizes reputation so strongly in The Prince. He explains that a ruler must appear disciplined, religious, merciful, loyal, and strong even when private decisions require flexibility. The appearance of virtue creates trust. Trust builds authority. Authority produces obedience. In political life, perception shapes reality. Modern research supports this observation. Studies in leadership psychology show that confidence strongly influences whether a person is judged as capable. In controlled experiments, individuals who speak with firmness and certainty are rated as more competent than those who hesitate, even when their actual knowledge is the same. In democratic elections across several countries, research has shown that physical presence, tone of voice, posture, and perceived dominance affect voter impressions significantly. Many voters form strong opinions based on debate, performance, and visual cues, rather than detailed policy analysis. This pattern appears repeatedly in political science research. That is Machiavelli's lesson in practice. People respond to what they see and hear clearly. However, there is danger here. If image becomes more important than structure, collapse follows. Narcissism without strategy creates exposure. A leader who becomes addicted to admiration may begin to ignore warning signs. He may silence criticism. He may surround himself with praise instead of truth. Over time, this weakens decision-making. Machiavelli warns that contempt is fatal. Fear can stabilize power. Respect can protect authority. But once people see weakness behind the image, authority erodes quickly. When admiration turns into ridicule, removal often follows. History provides many examples. Leaders who invested heavily in personal glorification while neglecting institutions often faced rapid decline once crises exposed their limitations. When economic downturns, military failures, or public unrest revealed weak foundations, the carefully built image could not hold the system together. Political research examining failed administrations often shows a common pattern: strong public messaging paired with weak structural preparation. When pressure rises, image alone cannot prevent collapse. Machiavelli teaches balance. Image is necessary. Reputation must be managed. Perception shapes influence. But image must serve stability, not ego. It must protect structure, not replace it. A disciplined leader uses image as a shield, not as a mirror for self-admiration. The narcissistic impulse seeks applause. The Machiavellian correction seeks durability. When admiration becomes the goal, judgment weakens. When stability remains the goal, image becomes a tool. Machiavelli's message is clear: appear strong, appear virtuous, appear reliable, but build real foundations beneath that appearance. Because when crisis arrives, structure determines survival, and image without structure disappears quickly. Number 3. The psychopathy. This type is defined by emotional detachment and low empathy. It does not easily feel guilt. It does not hesitate because of emotional discomfort. It can make hard decisions without visible inner struggle. In extreme forms, this becomes dangerous, but in controlled forms, emotional distance can produce decisiveness. Machiavelli addresses something similar when he speaks about cruelty in The Prince. He writes that cruelty, if it becomes necessary, should be carried out swiftly and all at once, so resentment does not grow slowly over time. Repeated small harms create continuous anger. Ongoing punishment creates lasting fear mixed with hatred. But one decisive act, followed by stability, prevents extended unrest. This is not emotional cruelty. It is controlled severity. Machiavelli observed that weak rulers often try to appear kind in every situation. They delay punishment. They compromise excessively. They hope problems will disappear on their own. In unstable states, this hesitation allows disorder to grow. Small rebellions expand. Rival factions strengthen. Authority weakens. Modern criminal justice research shows something similar. In structured environments, inconsistent punishment often increases repeat violations. When rules are enforced clearly and predictably, compliance increases. When enforcement is uneven or emotional, disorder spreads. People test boundaries more when consequences are uncertain. This does not mean harshness always works. It means clarity and consistency create stability. Thomas Hobbes later argued in Leviathan that without strong authority, society falls into conflict. He described life without order as insecure and violent. Machiavelli had already observed similar patterns in divided states. Where authority collapses, fear and competition fill the space. However, there is a critical difference between strategic firmness and reckless aggression. Psychopathy without calculation leads to destruction. A leader who acts without emotional awareness and without long-term planning often creates unnecessary enemies. History shows that rulers who governed through uncontrolled violence rarely maintained power for extended periods unless they built strong systems behind them. Even then, instability remained constant. Political studies examining failed regimes often show that excessive, unpredictable repression increases the likelihood of revolt. When people believe punishment is random or personal rather than strategic, trust disappears completely. Machiavelli does not recommend uncontrolled brutality. He recommends disciplined control. He values strength guided by reason. He values firmness guided by timing. He warns against cruelty that creates hatred. He insists that punishment should serve order, not emotion. Emotion must not control decisions, but neither should impulse replace strategy. A leader who cannot act firmly invites chaos. A leader who acts without calculation invites rebellion. The lesson is balance. Emotional detachment can protect judgment during crisis, but detachment without structure becomes instability. Severity can restore order, but severity without limit becomes collapse. Machiavelli's principle is simple. Control yourself before you attempt to control others. Remove disorder quickly when necessary. Then restore stability. Do not continue punishment longer than required. Power survives through discipline, not rage. And the difference between authority and destruction is calculation. Number 4. The sadism. This type enjoys causing harm. It does not use force as a tool. It uses force as pleasure. It does not punish to restore order. It punishes to feel dominance. The suffering of others becomes satisfaction rather than strategy. Machiavelli would reject this as foolish and dangerous. In The Prince, he makes a clear distinction between necessary cruelty and destructive cruelty. Necessary cruelty has a purpose. It protects the state. It prevents disorder. It stabilizes authority. Destructive cruelty has no restraint. It humiliates. It provokes. It invites long memory and deep resentment. Cruelty must serve order. If harm becomes entertainment, it creates hatred. Hatred leads to rebellion. Rebellion leads to instability. Instability destroys power. Machiavelli repeatedly warns that while fear can maintain obedience, hatred must be avoided at all costs. Fear keeps people cautious. Hatred makes them united against you. Fear isolates individuals. Hatred creates alliances among enemies. Historical revolutions demonstrate this pattern clearly. When rulers abused populations excessively without strategic restraint, uprisings followed. When punishment shifted from enforcement to humiliation, anger deepened. When leaders ignored the emotional breaking point of the population, resistance became organized. Political science research supports this observation. Studies examining authoritarian regimes have found that governments relying heavily on uncontrolled repression face higher risks of revolt compared to those combining authority with institutional systems and limited, calculated enforcement. When repression becomes unpredictable and excessive, it weakens long-term stability rather than protecting it. Machiavelli understood human memory. People may tolerate fear. They rarely forget humiliation. Sadism miscalculates this reality. It assumes people will remain passive under unlimited harm. History shows otherwise. When suffering becomes unbearable and visible, even divided groups unite. Strategic authority is different. Strategic authority applies force only when necessary. It communicates strength without constant punishment. It restores order quickly and then reduces visible harshness. It allows daily life to continue. It avoids unnecessary enemies. Machiavelli's teaching is simple and practical. Fear is useful. Hatred is fatal. A ruler who enjoys cruelty will eventually lose control because pleasure blinds judgment. A ruler who uses force reluctantly but decisively protects stability. Sadism produces hatred because it has no limit. Strategic authority produces stability because it has boundaries. Power survives not through endless harm, but through controlled strength. And in Machiavelli's framework, the difference between lasting authority and collapse is restraint. Now we step back. Machiavelli's framework is not just about personality. It is about structure. Power flows through wealth, military strength, alliances, institutions, and perception. Thomas Piketty's economic research demonstrates that wealth concentration creates structural power over time. Those who control capital influence systems. Machiavelli understood this centuries earlier. A ruler must control arms, law, and economic resources. Without structure, personality collapses. Carl Jung later described the shadow, the hidden drives of ambition and control. Machiavelli does not deny these drives. He integrates them into disciplined action. The Stoics taught emotional control. Machiavelli applied emotional control to political survival. Now the question returns to you. When you compete, do you seek admiration or advantage? When authority is given to you, do you protect image or build structure? When pressured, do you react emotionally or calculate outcomes? Most people contain all four dark traits in small degrees. Psychological research on the dark personality spectrum shows that traits exist on a continuum, not in fixed categories. You are not one thing. You shift under pressure. The real difference is discipline. Darkness without discipline becomes self-destruction. Darkness under strategy becomes influence. Machiavelli's ultimate lesson is not cruelty. It is realism. He teaches that humans are motivated by interest, that fear is predictable, that reputation shapes obedience, that structure sustains power, that unchecked cruelty destroys authority, that emotional weakness invites exploitation. If you ignore these truths, someone else will use them against you. If you understand them without wisdom, you will become unstable. The goal is control not of others first, but of yourself. Because the most dangerous dark trait is not the one you recognize. It is the one you deny. This is purely noetical. Study power carefully. Observe human nature honestly. Control emotion before it controls you. Build structure before seeking admiration. Avoid hatred while maintaining respect. And remember, this archive is not for comfort. It is for understanding.